I am greatly honored also to have this opportunity to confer a Global Peacemaker Award on His Excellency Ban Ki-moon, the 8th Secretary General of the United Nations. Secretary General Ban is not able to be with us tonight, so the award will be accepted by Mr. Robert Skinner, Director of the UN Information Center here in Washington, D.C. But let me say a few words about Secretary General Ban. For the last 10 years, he has been the UN Secretary General, a position that has been described by a former UN Secretary General as, quote, the most impossible job on earth, unquote. Before becoming UN Secretary General, Ambassador Ban had a long and distinguished career as a South Korean diplomat, rising to become his country's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade. His many important assignments included serving as National Security Advisor to the President of the Republic of Korea, Ambassador to Austria and Slovenia, and Chairman of the Preparatory Commission for the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization. A very diverse individual. No one is more dedicated to the ideals and principles of the United Nations than is Secretary General Ban. Early in his tenure as Secretary General, he played a major role in persuading the President of Sudan to allow UN peacekeepers to enter the Darfur region. Subsequently, the UN Security Council approved sending 26,000 UN peacekeepers to join 7,000 troops from the African Union that were stationed in that troubled region. In carrying out his duties, Secretary General Ban has not tried to steer clear of controversy. When he has felt it necessary to do so, he has spoken and acted in ways that have led to criticism, but that reflected his strong beliefs and principles. This has not altered his courageous determination to carry out his responsibilities, in the course of which he has given primary attention to climate change, economic upheaval, pandemics, and increasing pressures involving food, energy, and water. Very basic issues for all mankind. His particular concern has been addressing the plight of the world's poorest and most vulnerable people. In recognition of Secretary General Ban's dedication and commitment, at the conclusion of his first term, the UN General Assembly unanimously re-elected him to a second term, which will conclude at the end of this year. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Robert Skinner to receive the Global Peacemaker Award on behalf of UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon.
Thank you, Ambassador Roy. I'm truly humbled after hearing that introduction and those words about Secretary General Ban to be here representing him. And I'm truly honored to be with such a distinguished group of diplomats. As a former Foreign Service officer myself, I have such great respect for the work that so many at this table have done and are doing. And thank you for that. And of course, Secretary General Ban would have loved to have been here this evening to share in this award and share in this evening, but I think as many of you know and was indicated in the introduction of the Secretary General, he never stops working. I've traveled with him. I know he literally never stops working, and he's continuing and will continue to do so through December 31st when his term ends. He has indicated he will work until midnight on December 31st before he finishes. And I feel honored. I have hosted him here in Washington on his last 4 visits, We're hoping we'll have one more visit to Washington before his term ends. But I've also had the opportunity and true pleasure to travel with him on his trip to China in July. So I know how deeply he values his relationships with the leaders of both countries and the importance of China and the U.S. and their bilateral relationship to the success of the United Nations. Without positive and dedicated engagement with the United Nations from both China and the United States, the United Nations just would not function like it needs to. And I'll now read Secretary General Bond's message. I am honored to receive the Global Peacemaker Award from the United States-China Policy Foundation. Thank you for recognizing the invaluable work of the United Nations. Achieving international peace and security relies on strong relations between member states, not only to advance bilateral ties, but also to work jointly to address global challenges. Both China and the United States are founding members of the United Nations, permanent members of the Security Council, and great partners in the work of the World Organization. Their leadership was indispensable in achieving the landmark agreements of the past year, most notably the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the Paris Agreement on Climate Change. Our shared challenge now is to translate these promises into tangible gains that benefit all people. This will require robust political leadership from all countries. The world continues to confront complex security threats, from armed conflict and violent extremism to governance failures and organized crime. We see terrible human suffering, the largest crisis of forced displacement since the Second World War, and divisiveness that seeks to put peoples into opposing camps of us and them. The United Nations will continue to look to the United States and China to continue to strengthen their commitment to the United Nations as we strive to build a world of peace, prosperity, human rights, tolerance, and opportunity for all. Thank you.